Dr. Scolati, there seems to be a preponderance of cases coming before justice court and now district court of men who are not just beating or abusing their wives, but they're strangling them as well. And I wanted to find out what is this sort of escalation mean in an abusive relationship?
What I think it primarily means is that the person wants to exert maximum power and control over the victim, as well as discharge their anger. Usually it's not the very first time that somebody in a domestic situation goes to that extreme, but over the course of time, if the domestic violence keeps going, the person often escalates, and I think that's what you're seeing.
Now, when someone has been strangled and chooses to go back into that relationship, are they facing a greater danger than before?
Yes, definitely.
And why is that, Doctor?
Well, because when you come back, if I'm the perpetrator, I'm thinking it wasn't that bad. It reinforces every one of my defense mechanisms, my cognitive distortions, that what I'm doing to you really isn't that bad. Because if it was that bad, you wouldn't come back to me.
And is there, do you happen to know from your studies and your practice, do you happen to know if this is a common problem, or is this something that's becoming more prevalent?
You know, I really don't know. Just from, briefly talking to you, I haven't really paid that much attention to the crime report in that way. And when I did the domestic violence program up on the Salish Kootenai Reservation for 9 years, and I didn't see too much strangulation, but I saw a lot of stabbings, and mainly women stabbing men. So it was a little bit, the shoe was on the other foot.
Yes, sir. All right. So if you were to talk to a woman who had been in a situation where there has been this sort of activity, what would you tell her as a physician?
I would tell her that the level of violence has reached a really dangerous portion, and that the next time he does something, he could kill her, especially if he's intoxicated or using drugs at the time, because he's going to be even more out of control and more disinhibited if he has a substance abuse problem.
Sure. Perhaps reaching out to men to say, let's try to curb this before we get into this dangerous type of activity, which could lead to murder.
Oh yeah, they need that for the perpetrators of this. They need to recognize that they have a really serious problem. I've worked with domestic violence people, and I've worked. My main career has been with sex offenders, and honest to God, it's easier working with sex offenders because they can't justify as much as the domestic violence people can. The domestic violence people, you're always fighting against, well, she did this, and if she wouldn't have done, if she would have done A but not B, then I wouldn't have become so mad. And, that's kind of the main part of treatment, is just beating up those distortions that they have.